Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here in the mighty metropolis of Marnie, Iowa. Baxter Cycle has rolled out this Royal Enfield Classic 350 Signals model. It's in marsh gray. Kind of a neat little bike. You know, we've seen these before. I own one of these. I've done a bunch of videos on it. This one's used and it's actually sold already. They just sold it today. We'd ride it, but it's sold and it's also raining out. Oh, the sun's coming out now. But anyway, we'll run through the specs real quick, then we'll run through the add-ons that this one has. These have a 348cc single cylinder, single overhead cam, 2-valve engine, air-cooled, oil-cooled, running with a 5-speed transmission. The engine puts out about 20 horsepower, 20 foot-pounds of torque. That's about 27 newton meters. And I just love this transmission. The one I have on my bike, the more I ride it, the better it works. And it's just ultra smooth, ultra great to have. It's a real piece of art, kind of. The wheelbase on this hot rod is 54.7 inches. That's 1,389 millimeters. Ground clearance, a wonderful 6.7 inches. That's 170 millimeters. Seat height, and this is kind of hard to believe, and I would like to measure this because I just can't believe it's this high. 31.7 inches, 805 millimeters. Wet weight on this motorcycle, 430 pounds. That's 195 kilograms. And the fuel tank is 3.4 gallons. That's about 13 liters. And this bike, the one that I have, I routinely get in the 60s, and periodically I'll get in the 70s, like 71, 72. So they get wonderful mileage. That's quite a range. Brakes on the front, I think these are a 300 millimeter disc, ABS, dual pot bibrary. They work great. The rear is a 270 millimeter with a single pot bibrary. I'm going to point this out real quick. This is all metal. Everything's metal. Fork travel is 5.1 inches. That's 130 millimeters, and the fork diameter is 41 millimeters. The back has about a 4-inch travel, which is about 102 millimeters, or about 4 inches. And again, metal fender. Just love it. And I'm going to point this out real quick. This is they call it a cassette or something like that. This is cast aluminum. This whole piece is cast aluminum. You know, they could have made that out of plastic, but they didn't. And it's really got some style to it. I like the way the forks are covered, so you don't get bugs and dirt in your actual tubes. It's a really neat thing. Chain drive. It has a center stand factory, you know, which is a really nice feature, especially on a chain drive motorcycle. Look at that rear end, isn't that neat? Jumping up here, let's take a quick look at the dash. Very simple dash. Speedometer, neutral light, battery light, ABS, and fuel light. Then down here, it's got the fuel gauge, a digital fuel gauge. Here it's got a clock. With this button over here, you can control what's showing down here. Odometer, 847 miles. Trip 1, trip 2, and then back to the clock. And you control all that with this button. There's also a USB port down here. That's really about the whole dash. You know, there's really not much to it. Switch gear, flash to pass, low beam, high beam. We already talked about the information button over yonder. Blinkers. Down here's the horn. And then I'm going to point it out again. Down here is a USB port. And I've actually used that. It's only active when the bike is running. Otherwise it's when the key's on. Otherwise it's not. Something I want to point out real quick. Look at these levers. They're just gorgeous. Not only do they have a nice curve that works very well with the hand, I find these to be really some of the best on the market. They've got a decent radius. You should get yourself over to Baxter Cycle and try these out. They're just great. And then the grips themselves are kind of a copy of an old Amal grip. And they, you know, a bit of a barrel shape. They're both hard and soft is what I've called them before. Pretty nice. Clutch adjustment right here. And there's also another clutch adjustment right down there. Very nice, huh? On this side, the kill switch, the run switch, the start switch. That's a rocker switch that does all three things. And then right there is the hazard lights. And of course the brake lever right there. Kind of a nifty deal. Mirrors on my bike, on my 350, the mirrors work great right up to 50 miles an hour. By 55, they're just starting to shake a little bit, blur a little bit. By 60, they're full on blur. Nifty little motorcycle. I just love, I call this, my bike, I call it the Zen Field. And the reason I do that is the more I ride it, the more relaxed I get. And I've taken it on a couple 200-mile days, and it's just an absolute, you know, Nandu, I think is the guy's name. And he talks about these three, he's an Indian fellow. One of those guys that sweats motorcycle oil and farts motorcycle noises. And he talks about these things, and he says the rhythm of the motor matching the rhythm of the soul and the rhythm of the heart. And you know, I have been calling it massaging the soul, you know, massaging the mind. It just works really well. It's a very, very relaxing place to be. The motorcycle works great right up to about 65 miles an hour regardless, and it will go 75 if the wind's behind you, and it does have a speed limiter at 75. I've had mine on the interstate when the wind's behind me, and I've had it where I'm bouncing off the speed limiter at 75. I won't go on the interstate unless the wind's with me, and I won't go on the interstate if I've got to go more than 10 miles. But for normal back road riding, it's just a dream. Absolute dream. Isn't that just beautiful? Oh, let me show you these. These are called Tiger Eyes, so we can get them to come on. Isn't that neat? Really, really nifty, I think. I like them. I like them a lot. And again, all of this is metal, you know. Just amazing how that is. The fenders, the stays, every little bit. You know, spoke wheels on this one. I have mags on mine, but and Baxter Cycle, by the way, sells mags that you can put on these. I don't know what they cost, but give BaxterCycle.com. Check out their website. They sell all of these accessories, by the way. We're going to go over the accessory packages here in a minute. On this bike, they have everything for Royal Enfield as far as accessories go, and they also have everything you could possibly imagine for gear. So now to the extras on this bike. We will start with the most obvious one. This is an aftermarket windshield, and this was put on by the previous customer. And it kind of matches, but it kind of doesn't. I like the way it looks. I'd like to ride the bike and see how it works, but like I said, it's sold and it's raining out. From the other side, it looks like it interferes with the gauge, but when you get on this side, it really doesn't. It's plain sight. So the other thing that's a big standout on this is they put this engine guard system on here. I like the way that looks. Jumping back here, these are faux springs. They don't really work, but they're decorative on the seats. And then they've got these bags on here. And I have these bags on my bike, on my Classic 350, and I use them for everything. They are just great. I open them up, and then you can double the height of the bag. There's inserts in here that pull out, and then they're zippered on the top. So I've taken mine grocery shopping. I've taken my bike grocery shopping several times, and it works great. So it's just a really beautiful thing in that sense. So let's see what else we can spot on here. Hey, look at that, a chrome kickstand. Anyway, it's just a beautiful little bike. Beautiful. Oh, hey, I noticed something real quick. Zombie response team sticker. One on each side. Anyway, a really nifty little hot rod. If you're interested in something like this, if you're interested in a new or used Royal Enfield or Triumph or British vintage bike of any type, get yourself down to Baxter Cycle, BaxterCycle.com. Baxter Cycle is located in Marnie, Iowa, the mighty mini-tropolis of Marnie, Iowa. That is in west central Iowa, right off Interstate 80, exit 51. You're about 3 miles south of exit 51. I call it a destination motorcycle site because they've got a collection of vintage motorcycles in the back that is unbelievable. Probably 70 motorcycles that are on display and then more elsewhere. And then the collection of bikes they have. They're probably the #1 Royal Enfield dealer around. They're just fabulous, fabulous. Anyway, if the weather is nice where you're at, get out and ride, my friends. Wahoo!